Hi, it's Dre Griggs with Obsidian Wisdom. Today we discuss holistic health and wellness in retirement. There are a few things worse than those stories that you hear about someone who has been waiting their whole life for retirement. They finally get to retire, and then something happens that ruins their retirement. And it's not that they don't have the money, it's not that they don't have the dreams of the plan, is that their body gave out on them and they no longer can live the dream life that they have planned for themselves. When we talk about our body giving out on us, we can really be talking about anything from having difficulty walking to dying right after we retire. There are people that we all know, stories that we've all heard, and I don't want that to happen to you. So when it comes to you and your retirement dream life, we have to have a holistic approach. And the good news is there are tons, and I mean thousands of studies. And there are six things that every single study repeats over and over and over again that are necessary to ensure that you have the best retirement lifestyle that you possibly can. And those six things are eating healthy foods, and some studies go as far as to saying a plant based diet. You'll also see exercising regularly, limiting the stressful events in your life, getting a good amount of sleep, sleep that restores you, quitting any addictive substances like tobacco, limiting alcohol, things like that, and nurturing social connections. And I'll share with you a couple of the studies that I looked at, but there's one Harvard study where they followed over 70,000 health professionals for more than 20 years. It said repeatedly a diet of high colorful fruits and vegetables significantly lowers risk of cognitive memory loss. A variety of studies define a healthy lifestyle as healthy dieting, not smoking, engaging in moderate activities, and avoiding excess weight. And if you're able to check off these boxes, it could prevent about 70 to 80% of coronary heart disease and up to 90% of type 2 diabetes. And if that was not definitive enough, there is an abundance, a ton of studies that talk about healthy lifestyles and how it often protects us against serious and disabling health problems such as diabetes, high blood pressure, dementia, heart disease, strokes, cancer, and more. Again, you can see that any one of these things, we're not talking about the financial aspect today. We're talking about your overall health. We're talking about taking care of your body so that when you have all the money that you need to be able to take those trips, that your body is able to go on those trips, that you're able to enjoy yourself, that you're not confined to a wheelchair, stuck in your house or a hospital, going to physical therapy. We're talking about if we're able to check off these six boxes, then we're able to make sure that we have that whole wellness aspect of our retirement taken care of. It's not enough for us just to have the money. It's not enough for us just to be able to have the list of things to do. We have to have the body that can do it. And I know what you're probably thinking right now. You're probably thinking, okay, Dre, you've given me the information. Sure, it's overwhelming that these things are very important. It's very clear that it will help me have the lifestyle that I want in retirement, but how do I go about doing it? And I think that that's a really good question because when you talk about wisdom, why I believe wisdom is the single most important aspect of any successful retirement plan is because a lot of times people are just talking about the knowledge. People have the information, they Googled it, they read about it, and they can't go any deeper than that. They don't have the understanding. So the next level after knowledge is understanding. When you have the understanding, you actually can draw conclusions. You comprehend why we do what we do. And then when you get to wisdom, that's where at the next level, that's where we're able to have a unique plan that's specific to us and our needs and our own unique situation. I'll give you a quick example of what that will look like in baking, because baking makes it a little bit easier. So we'll say knowledge is someone that's able to go online and read the recipe. It tells you that you need the flour, the eggs, and the different ingredients to make the cake. Understanding might be understanding how the ingredients work together, how it causes the cake to rise, what causes the sweetness in the ingredients. And the only way you get understanding is by baking a cake or two. You learn some things along the way. And then when you have the wisdom, that's like grandma's cake where she has that secret recipe and she just doesn't share it with anyone. She gives you all the ingredients, but deep down, you know that she's holding something back because it doesn't taste the same. Well, that's because grandma has the wisdom. She's made enough cakes where she's able to look at a recipe and she immediately knows whether she's going to follow the recipe or whether she's going to make changes to the recipe. She understands how to consistently make a delicious cake over and over and over again. She knows the ingredients, high quality ingredients, where to go to get the best ones. She knows all of the ins and outs. She knows to leave the ingredients out overnight so that they get room temperature. She knows to mix the liquids and the dry separate before mixing them together. She has all of this wisdom that is a lot deeper than any recipe that we can read online. And so when it comes to creating a healthy lifestyle, you actually already have the knowledge. There's nothing that I'm going to say that's not overwhelmingly surprising to you. I've just added a layer of understanding. So now you can sit there and say, okay, I understand how important this is. I know the payoff of being healthy in retirement. I'm going to all but eliminate the chance of me having a disabling disease. I'm going to make sure I have a long life and health and wellness where I can enjoy each and every day of retirement. I'm going to have more money because I'm going to have these preventative plans in place. And then we have the layer of wisdom that's unique to you when we build consistency into our plan. There is no reason it wasn't aligned with your goals or your overall risk tolerance. So you're not able to maintain that plan because it freaks you out. It keeps you up at night. And so it's going to be very difficult for you to maintain such a plan over the long term. When it comes to you and your overall health, we really want to think of it in a very simple way. And so when it comes to you and your health, we want to think about it in a very simple way. We want to think about it from the perspective of your mind, your body, and your soul. There's an old African proverb that says a tree cannot stand without strong roots, and a person cannot thrive without a healthy mind, body, and soul. In this video, we're going to create your holistic health and wellness plan, and we're going to do it from 3 tiers. The first one is immediate changes that we can make. The second one is adding a layer of protection for preventative care. And the third one is going to be establishing a quick response healthcare support system for emergencies. So let's start with the immediate changes that we can make. I remember having this conversation with a CEO as he was near retirement. He had focused so much on climbing that corporate ladder that he really allowed his health to kind of go by the wayside. And he was trying to find a way to reestablish it. And I remember when we were talking, sharing a proverb with him, when the proverb basically said, wealth which enslaves the owner isn't wealth. And it's the idea that there's certain things that maybe cost a little bit too much that we have to say no to. Whether it's a core value that we have to sacrifice, whether it's a long-term goal that we have to sacrifice, whether it's our integrity that we have to sacrifice, whatever it is, there are some things that we have to say no to. That all wealth isn't wealth, that there's more to wealth than riches. While money is the easiest thing to keep count of, there is so much more. There's so much deeper of an understanding of our life. And the good news is I felt like we met early enough where we can make a lot of the changes to regain his health, but that's not true for all of us. Sometimes we sacrifice our health for the money, and then we spend all of our money to buy back our health. Sometimes we sacrifice our time with our family and our friends for the money, and then we end up trying to spend the money to buy back our time with our family and friends. Sometimes we can't buy everything back. There's a question in the Bible that asks, what good is it to gain the whole world if it costs you your soul? And on the flip side, how much would you be willing to pay to buy back your soul? And both of those is a really interesting way to think about it, because your soul or your being, your essence, your wellness, all that you are, that is all that you are. In fact, if you look at most cultures, spiritually speaking, there is this idea that there is some sort of an afterlife. And so if the only thing you can take in your afterlife is your soul, is your memories and your wisdom, and then all of the stuff physically here on this earth, we can't take it with us. And if you need any proof that you can't take it all with you, look at the pharaohs in Egypt. People were digging up their graves when they found out that they were buried with gold and treasure. Now they put up booby traps and they did all this amazing stuff. And ultimately, they still had their stuff stolen. You can't take it with you. But what we can take with us, we should prioritize. So when it comes to your health and you look at those 6 attributes that I read to you from the studies, I find the common thread amongst all of them is what you do with your time. We all know that it takes a lot more time to be able to eat healthy. We got to go grocery shopping. We got to prep the food. We have to learn the recipes. There's a lot of change that goes into that. And many times it's much easier for us to eat unhealthy. It doesn't take a lot of effort. It's all around us. All of those options are available. It probably means that you got to watch a little bit less TV. At least for me, and there are the studies that say it, when you watch TV, it does something to your mind where you end up being like, man, I really want to eat that. That looks so good. And you maybe wouldn't have eaten it otherwise, but because you saw it on TV, because it went into your mind is like, oh, this is great. We want to do this. And you're just like, no, I don't really want to do this. So you may have to watch less TV. You also find things like meditation, picking up yoga and exercise classes, different hobbies, things that you have to do with your time. These are things that are going to provide you the extra bump of wellness in your retirement. Or just walking outside, walking on a beach, reading books outside. All of these things, when you spend your time in certain ways, is going to increase your mental functions, is going to increase your overall vitality and cardiovascular health. But it's how we spend our time that's going to play the biggest role in how healthy we're going to be. And when we talk about limiting your stress and building positive relationships, I mean, really, what are we talking about? We're talking about who you spend your time with. So if you spend your time with people who stress you out, bother you, they're always talking negative or bringing you down, well, that's going to have a negative and stressful impact on your overall health. If you spend your time with amazing, wonderful people that bring life into you, when you see them, it brings a smile to your face. Well, that's going to bring you a lot more joy. In fact, the first book that I wrote is called Champion and Change, and I'm probably going to rename it because I just wrote the book and I didn't really think about the title that much. But I talked about ways to make positive change in your life. And we talk about different mindsets that we have to have. There's tons of studies that have already researched this, how important it is for you to believe in the change that you're making before the change even happens. To drive this point home, I'll share one story from the book. And there was these people who had chronic knee pains. And they were chronic in the sense that they had it for years, a very long time. And so they were going to get knee surgery. What they didn't know is that they only provided knee surgery for half of the patient. Isn't that interesting? So half of them were given the actual knee surgery, and the other half of them were not given the actual knee surgery. They gave them the incision so that they thought they had a knee surgery. They took them to the physical therapy as they did with everyone else, but they did not operate on their knee at all. Interesting, right? You and I would think, okay, well, those people are eventually going to figure it out because they've had chronic knee pain. But you actually found out that there was a measurable benefit for the people who just thought that they had knee surgery. And even though they didn't have knee surgery, they did not have chronic knee pain anymore. And they watched these people, I think, for 12 or 18 months, and they didn't have chronic knee pain ever again, which is kind of crazy. So when you look at your retirement and what you have to do, it starts with your beliefs. The people that you have in your life, you have to think really long and hard about whether they should be a part of your life. Should they be a part of your retirement life? And that's for everybody. You have to give an honest evaluation of every single person. There's no passes being given in this. And then you have to move on to the food that you're eating. There's a variety of ways to create change in your food, but one of the cool ones is an if then. And it just means if this happens, then I'll do this. So if you have pre-made a plan, it shows that there's like a 90% chance that you actually will stick to what the plan is. And for most of us, we go back to our previous attitudes because we don't actually have a plan to achieve the goal that we want. Sure, we want the goal. Sure, we thought long and hard about it, but we didn't actually put a plan in place. So an example of the way this could work is if you decided to eat healthier and you have a group of people that all eat pretty unhealthy, you might say, if my friends invite me out to eat, then I will order a salad. Or you might say, if my friends invite me out to eat, then I will decline and bring my own packed lunch. There are so many things that we can do just to pre-set up a plan, and those small changes and those small wins are things that go along the way. Another thing I found out in my Champion and Change book in that study was that we should celebrate all of our wins, that we want to train ourselves that this is what winning feels like. We don't want to withhold that feeling of accomplishment because we haven't accomplished all of the goals. That's the same idea of saying that I'm going to lose 20 pounds. And so when you lose 5 pounds, you don't actually celebrate it. You're like, I have 15 more to go. And then when you lose 10 pounds, you don't celebrate it. You're like, I still have 10 more to go. When you lose 15 pounds, again, you're not celebrating it. Well, your mind eventually is going to say, it seems like losing weight is a feeling like a loss. Like I'm not winning. I'm literally losing along the way. Part of our retirement is the journey, is the process. And if we train ourselves that all of it is feeling like losing, then what do you think your retirement is going to feel like? How likely is it going to be for you to be able to hold on to any of these changes that you want to make? I find that gamifying our life works really well. If you think of games like Candy Crush or just whatever your favorite game is on your phone, you and I know that they give the first 10 levels relatively easy. They want you to get a bunch of quick wins so that it feels really good to play the game. And then they stretch out those wins a little bit further and then a little bit further, and it takes a little bit longer. And at some point, you're on Candy Crush level 300 and it takes you 3 days to pass the level, but you're committed because of that feeling of positivity that you had along the way from those early wins. Imagine if the first time you played Candy Crush, it was the equivalent of level 300 and it took you 3 days to feel the first win. You'd probably be like, this isn't worth it. And so the game makers understand this. There's a lot of psychology that confirms this, but we don't treat ourselves that way. We don't give ourselves the benefit of quick and small wins along the way to build that feeling where it's worth us doing. And so that's the way I would design it. And one of the cool things that you'll find is most of the things I mentioned to you here today are things that you could start tomorrow. It's not something that you have to really prepare for. There are small things that you'll want to prepare for, but you can really get started making material changes in your lifestyle so that you can increase your quality of life, so that you can enjoy your retirement that much more. Now, when it comes to integrating the preventative measures, you changing your lifestyle is going to be the best preventative measure that you can do. Now, of course, if you want to say, well, I need to check my doctors, I need to have my vitals checked, and I need to have my cardiovascular health and all these other things checked. Sure, we can go and get our vitals checked, but we know that we have a process in place that is going to get us the results that we want. And so why would we expect anything different when we go to the doctor? Now, I'm not advocating for you to not go to the doctor, but I am saying that we want to be confident in our process, knowing that we are taking the proper steps in place to get the results that we want. And it's not that we'll get it 100% of the time, but we will get it 70 to 90% of the time. And I like those odds. And then when you talk about establishing that quick response healthcare plan for emergencies, I have other videos and I'll put a link to them. The most important part about that is having a plan in place. Our doctors need to know what our wishes are. We need to already have our healthcare directive given to them. If we have any power of attorneys, they already need to be signed. If any family needs to be notified, they need to know that they're the ones that are going to be notified. You'll be surprised at how many times someone writes in a will or something that they're leaving their kids or their pet to a family member, and that family member has no idea that they're listed as the person who's going to receive them. So please, if you have your healthcare plan in place, the person that's going to be called, you need to let that person know, hey, you're on my list to be called. When you come to the doctor, make sure that they follow all my healthcare wishes. These are the things that I don't want put in my body. These are the things that are okay to put in my body. These are the things that I'm allergic to. All of those little things are very important when it comes to having an efficient and effective response to any healthcare emergency. A lot of the times the doctors are trying to troubleshoot. They're trying to figure out exactly what it is that's going on. And the more information that you can give them up front, the more likely it is that they'll be able to get the right actions in the right amount of time. Have you ever seen that old show House where it was this brilliant guy and he was always kind of troubleshooting and he was trying to figure out what was wrong with people? Well, the show was an hour because he didn't know what was wrong with them. Now, to his defense, these people had very unique situations, and the majority of the doctors had given up on it, where they're like, "Yeah, you're just going to die. There's nothing that modern medicine can do." Now, this house guy comes in, and him and his team, they're able to really figure out exactly what's wrong with these people. Sometimes they get it right, sometimes they get it wrong, but for the most part, they get it right eventually. Now, we don't want to be experimented on by the doctors. We don't want them troubleshooting and guessing on us. And as much information as we can give them up front, the more of a benefit it'll be for us and the better the care that we will receive. And that'll do it for today. I'm always thankful for your time. If you found value in this video, go ahead and like and subscribe so you can continue receiving valuable insights on how to create your own wealthy retirement system so that you can worry less and live more. Until next time, stay safe and enjoy life.